Thank you, Kutsik and Vivek. Thank you so much for joining me today. What we're talking about today are game jams. I as an old ex game dev, have missed out on this whole thing, and I find it fascinating, exciting, and it's been so much a part of so many indie dev stories. Could you explain to me, as someone who is late to the game, what a game jam is?
It's a jam. It's a group of people getting together and building a game. And you know how in the product economy or the IT sector we have these hackathons where people get together and they do like a sprint of 2 days, and then they sort of experiment on an idea and they build something. Game jams are very similar. So the idea is that you bring together a lot of people interested in building games, and you give them a platform where they can sort of get together, find team members, experiment on ideas, explore new technology, learn new tools, and build a game in 48 hours. Um, Now, like 48 hours is not a defining feature of a jam, but yeah, like in a limited time.
That's that's yeah, that's a very limiting feature. So Yadu has just joined us. Thank you very much for being part of this. Um, and so we're going to get into like more specifics, but like, can you all speak to your own personal experience in game jams? I know Vivek, you certainly have something to say. Could you share some to somebody who's not been in one? Can you explain what it's like being in it?
Yeah, it's sure. Like I think Global Game Jam was the first game jam that I ever participated. I was new in the industry. It has been only a couple of months for me in the industry, and I just got a Unity blog talking about Global Game Jam and what a game jam is, and that got me very excited for to participate in the jam. And then I went to my first Global Game Jam where I saw a lot of folks coming in and making game in 48 hours, and I made a lot of friends. I made a team on the spot with strangers, and which became friends. And like now I met Yadu for the first time in that game that just like almost 9 years ago now. And ever since then, like it gave me inspiration to like run game jams. Like I came back to my city in Delhi where that point of time there was no game jams happening, and I joined Hashtag soon after that, and I convinced Kinshuk to start hosting Global Game Jam. And ever since, we have been hosting Global Game Jam in Delhi. And in the last 3 years, I became regional organizer for India, and now I'm taking care of all the game jam sites that we have in India, and trying to get more and more sites in more cities in India to host this jam. So for me, Global Game Jam was the first jam which got me interested in, like, which showed me what is Indian game industry doing, and the folks who are in it, and the things that they are building. And it made me more closer to the community of game developers in India.
I mean, that sounds very intense. Yadu, I mean, can you speak to that? There's two components to this kind of event. There's like the intense creative experience, and like this huge social thing. Can you speak to, like, I don't know, what does that add to the community? What do you get out of it?
Right. I mean, like Vivek, we've been doing jams for a very long time, and I think, like, my personal history of jams go way back to, like, maybe even beyond 2009, when I think a lot of us were kind of trying to figure out what games were and how to get into games. And you would see these game jams happening, like Ludum Dare and all that, and you would wonder, how are these people like making games? At that point, you didn't really have access to like middleware and things like that. um, uh, and you see a community at work together, and kind of trying to do something together in these jams. And I think one of the things that kind of we took forward when we were doing jams was that the same thing. um, that how do you bring people together and uh, try to build something interesting as a group. And I think jams, like, fundamentally, and the word jam, right? Like it's sort of like it feels like it kind of stems off of something that musicians do in a way that hey, you come together, you experiment, and then you try something new. And I think that spirit is there, and because the amount of time that kind of is short for jams, you see. um s- you see like this collision of like forces that end up happening in a short duration of time, and but what's interesting is that the lasting effects that kind of it ends up having on those individuals, like for instance Vivek as an example, uh, kind of jumping into community work, at the same time other folks having gone through an experience of making an entire game in 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours, whatever it is, that getting that sort of a crash course into this, it stays with them in whatever form. And if they finish the game, a lot of times they end up either taking that forward in a way as well. And those bonds that kind of come out of those intense experiences usually forge something uh, interesting, and that has like long lasting effects. And I think that's also, I think, just to add to that about how it helps grow communities as well, that it's over time it has the people who end up jamming bring other people to jams, and then they bring more people to jams, and then slowly around jams also there is uh, like people who want to make games, anybody for that matter, kind of end up coming and then kind of doing the same, whoever they are.
That's. I mean, it sounds like a wonderful experience. Please, Kinshuk.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, Paul. When we started Game Dev India in 2009, we started as a mailing list. We had 100 odd people on that mailing list, and we would talk about game development. And it was all just talk, and nothing was happening, and we could not see anybody making a game and something coming out of that. And so we decided in 2010 to do the first BYOG. 10 people showed up. We made one game in that jam. But now there was a tangible something that was built which people could look at, people could play, interact with, leave feedback on, right? And that is, I think, the biggest point of biggest catalyst to a community, because you create these small uh, testimonials of time so that people can look back and say, okay, this was made in this jam, and you can interact with it, and you have a reference point to it, and that inspires other people that hey, we can also do this. If this somebody made this in 48 hours, I can build something similar in 48 hours, right? And that starts a conversation that hey, how did you do this? What do I need to learn to be able to do this? And those conversations with a direct action item of coming to the next jam and then uh, making a game. Yadu, Vivek, all of them would agree. That, all of us have a lot of friends. We only meet at jams. We have never met them otherwise, right? So I think that's the most beautiful aspect of any game jam.
That's wonderful. I mean, the whole like in person thing, and the learning by seeing and an example and sharing knowledge is so important. And in person, I mean, I imagine it took a bit of a hit during like the pandemic. But I mean, so to contrast, like the very first build your own game gathering was very small. How big is the next one
Think-
by comparison?
The 2024 one, the
Yes.
I mean, like looking at the last year numbers, it like as Kinshuk mentioned, we are getting around 200 games and like 1,000 people participating. So we are expecting to cross that because we still have a few weeks left. So we'll get the actual numbers by the end of the jam, but we hope to cross those numbers. So from one game, we now have around 200 games.
That's very impressive. Uh, is it so? This is all still in person. I mean, so this is you have 1,000 developers all in one space. Is that how that works?
Not for the BYOG. For BYOG is virtual jam, and
Okay.
it used to be in person in the starting years, but now because the other also limitation is like people participating across the country. It's very difficult to get them at one place. So
Right.
we do this virtually now to so that everyone can access from their home and participate. And then the top winners and all. They come to the IGDC event, which is the India Game Developer Conference, where we meet and where we announce the winners, and
In
everyone
a,
gets to see their games.
yeah,
Jay, do you want to add
interesting.
something?
Yeah. I was gonna say, BYOG is in a way, it's been an experiment for us as well. I think that the one that Kinshuk mentioned, had 10 people showing up and making one game. And I think we keep trying to experiment with the format. We've run in-person jams in a couple of spaces. One with a conference, but as part of an educational institution. And we've tried to work with other companies to see if there are synergies that we can provide through the jam, or uh, and we've experimented with the duration of the jam. So it's been like a playground to kind of see what works and what doesn't, and how much of it can you stretch. We've added, like, made it into a competition recently, and then now we're kind of stepping back from that because we felt that cash prices are not really in spirit of these kind of things, where your focus should be more on the making. So it's interesting. There's a lot of learning that we've kind of had through the last kind of 10, 12, 15 years of just, and yeah, that's like an interesting thing to kind of look back at now.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all this wonderful information about like game jams in general and BYOG in particular. I'd like to leave the last word to Kinshuk. Do you have anything to add to people who might be interested in this kind of experience?
Well, first of all, I'd like to advertise BYOG that it's while it's a India specific jam, it's not limited to Indians. Please come be a part of it. If you don't build a game, play the games that are made, leave feedback, help all the developers in India become better at making games. But having said that, I just wish there are more game jams and more people all across the world making more games in a game jam, and find team mates and people they go on to build amazing games with in these game jams.
Excellent. Thank you so much, gentlemen. You've been excellent guests. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.